Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be reviewing the results of the Iowa caucus as well as surrounding events. This has been a very significant few days in terms of the 2024 US presidential election. So let's get into it. Now, first, obviously, Donald Trump came in with the landslide victory, absolutely dominating his opponents, with Ron DeSantis coming in not even a close second, Nikki Haley coming in just below him, and then Vivek Ramaswamy after that. And we'll get to the others a little bit later, but the most salient point here is that Vivek Ramaswamy has officially suspended his campaign to become president of the United States in 2024.
I think it is true that we did not achieve the surprise that we wanted to deliver tonight. And I think that that's just a hard fact that we're going to have to accept. We are going to suspend this presidential campaign. There is no path for me to be the next president absent things that we don't want to see happen in this country.
And it is a bitter pill to swallow because he's run such an incredible campaign. And obviously I've covered him a lot on this channel and I've really enjoyed his message, and it's been revitalizing and it's been a breath of fresh air.
Vivek, who nobody knew as of 2 years ago, who nobody even, thought about like who Vivek was. You didn't sit there and think, who is this guy? This guy's going to run for president? He went from 0 to 2 million followers on Twitter with billions of online view, and he was constantly meeting with others. A star is born for the Republican Party, by the way, just so everybody knows.
The future looks bright.
You can sit there and say whatever you want. The left would love a star like Vivek Ramaswamy.
But the reality of the situation is that he was never ever going to beat Donald Trump. He was only really there as an anti-establishment America First candidate in case Donald Trump was to go to jail. But that is no longer a possibility, which is leaving us in quite a precarious situation, which I will get to. But I do think that this is definitely not the end for Vivek. He's 38 years old. This is not goodbye. This is simply hasta luego. We'll be seeing you soon, Vivek. And he said that he's going to be even attending rallies with Trump and making sure that he's the next president and he beats the other neocon Republican candidates and obviously Joe Biden or whoever else they put in.
We're going down and we cannot let it continue. Last night, I was honored to receive the endorsement of a man who has become a true leader and earned the admiration of so many patriots. I've been a friend of his, even though we were competing against each other. But I was a friend of his, and we got along. And he was saying he's a great president. I kept saying, why is he running? He keeps calling me a great president. But he's a fantastic guy, a very smart guy. He's got some tremendous ideas. And he's young, and he's got some young ideas, too, and that's a good thing. So he has a big, beautiful, bright future ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy. Come on up, Vivek.
Let's do this, guys. It's good to see you. It's good to be back to New Hampshire. We miss you guys. We're going to make this happen, and you guys know this well. You know this man. You know why we're here. Patriots across the state. We are in the middle of a war in this country. That's what this is. It's not a war between black and white. It's not between Democrat and Republican, even in a deeper sense. It's between the permanent state and the everyday citizen. Between those of us who love the United States of America and a fringe minority who hates this country and what we stand for. And right now we need a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this war. That's what we need in this country. You got to know you're in a war to win one. You can't win one if you're asleep at the switch, have your head stuck in the sand like most Republicans. And I think that's going to require somebody who isn't bought and paid for, a businessman, not a politician. Anybody heard of that? And that's why I was in this race, but I'll tell you, the people of Iowa spoke loud and clear last night, and I'm a big believer that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That we, the people, choose who leads this country. And so we heard we, the people, last night, and that is why last evening I met my friend here. We met in person, and I told him that I would endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States and do everything in my power to lead us to victory in this war. We are the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals that set this country into motion. We believe those ideals still exist. This man is going to be your next president to revive them. E pluribus unum, from many, one. And you know how we're doing it? We're doing it by speaking the truth at every step of the way. There are two genders in this country. Period. That is the truth. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth.
Guys, if you enjoy these sorts of videos and me wrapping everything up into a little bundle like this and putting a little knot on it, then you can leave a like on this. Helps me out greatly. And you can also subscribe to the channel just below if you haven't already. Back to the clip.
Still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. That is what we are going to revive to, yes, make America great again. Vote for this man right here in the New Hampshire primary. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you, New Hampshire. It's good to see you guys. We're coming back and winning this in a landslide. We will not stop until we get this job done. Thank you all. God bless you and your family.
So like we said, too soon. I kind of see this like a young, prodigiously talented Canelo Alvarez with the world at his feet, who then gets put up against the GOAT, Floyd Mayweather, and just falls short and is shown levels to this game. But eventually, once Mayweather steps aside, Canelo comes through and dominates the weight division for years to come. And I think we could see something similar with Vivek in the future. But for now, this is Donald Trump's moment. This is his time to do what he was put on God's green earth to do, and that is to kick the shit out of the establishment. He didn't quite manage to do it in his first reign as president, but I think that we are in store for something special this time around. And just a side note, guys, just imagine for a second how glorious it would be if Vivek ended up Trump's press secretary. I know that's a job that's probably beneath him, but imagine watching Vivek absolutely destroy dishonest journalists as his full-time job. Imagine the content for Rattlesnake TV. But all we can do is dream. So it appears as though at the moment Trump is the man and his path to the White House is clear. But, and it's a big old Kim Kardashian but, there is one scenario that Vivek Ramaswamy has been calling for a little while now that is extremely concerning and actually kind of looking a little bit more likely.
Here's the hard truth, and nobody seems to want to acknowledge it, but it's what's happening in plain sight. And I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. They want to narrow this down to a 2-horse race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, a puppet who they can control. Then they want to eliminate Donald Trump this spring or whenever it is and trot their puppet into the White House. It's hiding in plain sight. We're not going to look back a year from now and say, oh, we were shocked that that happened. I think we're going to look back a year from now and say, how could we not see that happening when every clue was hiding in plain sight? They're selling us the rope today that they're going to use to hang us tomorrow. And we have an obligation to this country to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm in this race because we have a duty to this country and the America First movement to make sure this lives on no matter what. It didn't start in 2016. It started in 1776. And the system has made clear they're going to now stop at nothing, and I mean nothing, to keep Donald J. Trump out of office. I have pushed back against this at every step. I've filed FOIA demands against the Biden administration. What did Biden and Merrick Garland tell Jack Smith in those federal prosecutions? This week, I filed a Supreme Court brief laying out what I view as the best legal arguments that the Supreme Court does need to hear in order to overturn Colorado's disastrous ruling. I've pushed back against this at every step. I'm the only candidate who has said I would remove myself from Maine and Colorado's ballots if they eliminate Trump, and I've called on every other Republican to do the same thing because that's how we protect ourselves against this election interference. But at a certain point, we have to open our eyes and see the hard truth. And yes, our duty is to this country. It's all I'm asking is to open your eyes, see the plot. It's staring us in the face. It's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes the truth hurts and we have to open our eyes to see it.
So Trump, over the next few months, has more court dates lined up than he does rallies. And that scenario is actually pretty alarming because we've seen how much the mainstream media has simped for Nikki Haley over the last few months. Ever since Vivek came out at the debates and announced that he didn't want to go to war with 9 different countries at the same time, the media pretty much acted like he didn't exist and made it seem like Nikki Haley was a bastion of conservatism and righteousness. She's come out of absolutely nowhere, and nobody supports this woman. She is literally the laughingstock of the race. And anybody who's on Twitter or social media and follows the trends understands this. And they would also have seen the resounding amount of support that Vivek Ramaswamy has received. But she is the establishment puppet. And when the puppet is chosen, it's very hard to deny. And anybody with half a brain cell can see that she's clearly not a competent and intelligent person. She's a puppet, she's malleable, and her position on any given subject could be changed at the drop of a donor's penny.
I would not run if President Trump ran.
I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president. I will not now, not ever, support raising the gas tax. Let's increase the gas tax by 10 cents over the next 3 years.
Every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat.
I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
So I think China's been a really great friend of ours. Yes, I view China as an enemy.
That was not what I intended to say. I do not think we need to pull money from the UN.
The UN, the only thing is we would defund the UN as much.
Because of the fact that she can be controlled, the bloodthirsty mainstream media has been propping her up like no tomorrow. They know that she is a candidate who's bought and sold and controlled by the establishment. They know that if she were to get into office, there would be democracy bombs dropped on some country in the Middle East tomorrow. And the war in Ukraine would probably last another 20 years. And if it wasn't already clear enough that this is the case, check out MSNBC and Joy Reid's reaction to Nikki Haley's results last night.
And I think to the point that you made, Steph, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. She's still a brown lady that's got to try to win in a party that is deeply anti-immigrant and which accepts the notion that you can say immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. She's getting, you know, birthered by Donald Trump. And I don't care how much the donor class likes her, which will ramp up a lot, the better she does in New Hampshire. So it's still a challenge. I don't see how she becomes the nominee of that party with Donald Trump still around. I can't picture it happening. Maybe it could happen. Ron DeSantis' only argument for staying in it is he's the white guy, that he can still make the appeal to white people.
When you've got Joy Reid on MSNBC desperately trying to endorse a candidate who is a Republican that could be sooner described as a Karen than a brown lady, that is more red flags than a Chinese Communist parade teamed up with a Soviet Red Army parade, teamed up with the club at 4 a.m. on a Saturday night as the lights turn on, teamed up with the divorce courts. More red flags than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, I took his money because he don't give me nothing.
And speaking of Karens, Joy Reid went full on, my coffee isn't hot enough, I want to speak to your manager with that haircut. But the point of the matter is that Nikki Haley, beloved and supported by MSNBC, Carbohydrate Chris Christie, loved and supported by CNN, these people are LARPing as conservatives when really they're fart-sniffing Democrats. And this is not the first time we've obviously seen this level of manipulation and manufactured narrative creation by the bloodthirsty mainstream media. You might remember when CNN was bashing Trump for years, and then the moment that he went and bombed Syria, this was their reaction.
It's day 78 of the Trump presidency. What changed last night?
I think Donald Trump became president of the United States. I think this was actually a big moment because Candidate Trump had said that he would never get involved in the Syrian civil war. He told President Obama, you cannot do this without the authorization of Congress. He seemed unconcerned with global norms. President Trump recognized that the President of the United States does have to act to enforce international norms, does have to have this broader moral and political purpose. President Trump realized, as every president has for many decades now, that presidents always believe they have inherent legal authority as commander-in-chief, and they don't need to go to a pesky Congress every time they want military force.
Oh yeah, now that he's bombed Syria, that's our guy. More of that, please. And you can see by that why having a candidate like Nikki Haley in office is literally the wet dream of the establishment and the military-industrial complex. And they have a plan for her, as Vivek said, and Tucker also said it very well.
But for now, they have a more pressing problem on their hands. That's how to stop Donald Trump and his white Christian campaign. And that's a tough one, and it's made tougher by last night's results. Thankfully, they have a plan, and the plan is Nikki Haley. Now, Haley, frankly, underperformed last night. They told us she was surging in Iowa. She was not surging. Nobody really likes her. She came in third by a thin margin, and that denies the media the chance to declare her the one true alternative to Donald Trump. But don't expect them to give up on Nikki Haley. A Nikki Haley presidency is a lot like a war with Iran. It's a terrible idea. No normal person wants it. But because a small, well-funded group of extremely enthusiastic activists are determined to have it anyway, we are perpetually on the verge of getting it. The next skirmish in this ongoing battle is going to take place a week from today in New Hampshire. And hard as it is to believe, Nikki Haley could do pretty well there. She could even win the New Hampshire primary, potentially. How's that possible, you ask? Well, it's taken a lot of coordinated effort and, above all, an awful lot of money. Judging from available disclosures, Nikki Haley's team is burning through about $3 million a week in New Hampshire. By contrast, Ron DeSantis seems to be spending zero there. Now, much of Haley's money comes not from Republicans or conservatives, but from committed Democratic partisans. Anti-civilization activist Reid Hoffman, for example, is a major Haley supporter. Reid Hoffman is the founder of LinkedIn. He's a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's. He was a visitor to Pedo Island, in fact. He's also the guy who funded E. Jean Carroll's sexual assault case against Donald Trump. Reid Hoffman is a Democratic mega donor. In 2020, he gave $1 million to David Brock's American Bridge PAC. That's a group designed to physically harass Republican candidates. Hoffman's money has also helped to prop up the authoritarian governor of California, Gavin Newsom, as well as many others on approximately the same team. So you know exactly who he is. What's interesting is this cycle, Reid Hoffman is all in on Nikki Haley. His cash is paid for one of the most shameless propaganda operations in memory. So the very same people who told you 4 years ago that Joe Biden was a jovial, moderate grandfather just trying to return America to normal, those same people are now trying to sell Nikki Haley as a conservative woman of principle. Haley can only become the Republican nominee if Republican primary voters have no one else to vote for. So the plan works like this. Ron DeSantis drops out after losing a few contests in a row. He simply runs out of money and has to head back to Florida. That could happen. And at that point, liberal donors swing as a block behind Nikki Haley, giving her bottomless resources. That's already happening right now. And then critically, Donald Trump goes to jail. And that could happen too, to be honest. And at that point, bam, Nikki Haley wins the Republican nomination by default. Now, it's not a foolproof plan. A lot could go wrong. But at this point, it's the only plan. It's all that Democrats have. Joe Biden is going to have a very hard time getting reelected, much less serving another term. It's impossible to imagine that. Yet the party cannot replace him because that would leave Kamala Harris, who is even more unpopular than he is. Because Harris is a member of the new master race, she cannot be booted off a presidential ticket. She must be shown maximum respect at all times, no matter what she says or does. And so that means the Democratic Party is stuck with two fatally unpopular candidates. It's their doing, of course, but it's a massive problem. They can't get out of it. So their only option at this point is to run a Republican who has the same views as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that is exactly what they're doing right now, no matter what they tell you. And that candidate's name is Nikki Haley.
And last bit on this, Nikki Haley, the way that she reacted to the results, coming in third place, nothing special, tells you all you need to know about her mindset, if she even has one, if she's not actually a genuine lizard.
When you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
She's celebrating as if she's won, and if she has this cocky sort of demeanor that she knows what's ahead of her and that she knows what kind of people are backing her, what kind of donors are in her corner. That is not the tone of a woman who has just been beaten in a landslide defeat. That's the tone of somebody who thinks that they're going to win, and not just win, but cruise to victory. This is very, very scary. Does she know something that we don't? So strange times, guys. The last thing I'll leave you with here is a video that I just kind of enjoyed, which was a heckler being forcefully removed by a bunch of bold, high testosterone Texans from an event when he was trying to disrupt it. We need a little bit more of this in the world. So, big things ahead, guys. I'm going to be on top of it. I'm actually in North America at the moment, in Mexico, but I'm going to be in the United States over the next few months. So if there's anything you guys would like to particularly see me do in terms of going to rallies, going to universities, going to the Republican events, Democrat events, let me know below. So with that, find me below, subscribe to the channel as usual, and if you'd like to watch another video, you can click right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.